Alright, this is my first tutorial on the Ellipse Tool, Curve Tool and Stairbuilder, going through the basics of those three rather useful elements, and it's otherwise known as how to make the perfect pentagram. So we'll take you through that process near the end. So what we're going to start with is the basics of the Ellipse Tool. So we'll start by drawing a few shapes. Ellipse Tool is a bit of a misnomer. It's more of a polygon tool. So you can go right down to 3, although you do have to manually enter that. So you can make a triangle, square or diamond, pentagon, etc. So let's start with the square. I will always put the apex of the points like that on the north, south, east, west. If you want it to rotate, you'll have to change the angle. Oops. I want 1945. There you go. So that'll rotate it around. But that's the default. So I'll do 4. Let's do a reset that. 5. So make these all 512 by 512 base size. 6. So to change the sides up there, you can hold shift and rotate the mouse wheel, and that'll change that value by factors of 2. So for a 7, we'll have to manually input that. Go back. 8. 9. 10. We'll go all the way to 12. Lucky. So there's a lot of shapes. One other thing I will point out is this ability here called guidelines. So if you turn that off, it just shows the vertices where you start and finish. But if you turn the guidelines on, it'll actually draw this grid for you, which makes it really easy to line up. So if you wanted to do two rings, you can see how it's lining up with just outside those points. You can do the next one. You know, start in the wrong place. Okay, no, that's too far down. It makes drawing concentric circles much easier. So I'd recommend turning the guidelines on. Very handy. Right, so let's have a look at our shapes. Now you'd think that drawing, no matter how many sides, they'd be a perfect polygon, but they are not. And this is probably the first mistake people make when using this tool. So a square, 4-sided shape, 362.04. That is the length of all the sides. Go to the pentagon, 5-sided shape. We got 316.43, 302.46, 311.17, and then repeating those last two numbers. So that is not a regular shape. These are not equal distances. Same with a hexagon. So we've got 256 on the sides, and then 286.22 on the top and the bottom. Not a regular shape. 7 is the same as the pentagon. You'll have these sides being uneven, and then mirrored on that side. Then back to an 8, these are all identical. 195.93. All the same. So the rule of thumb is anything with 4, a multiple of 4 as the number of sides, is a perfect polygon. So the 12, 132.52, all identical. Go to the 10, 158.22, 161.08, 165.6. So that's really important to remember if you're going to do anything more than just draw a simple shape. If you're going to stair build it, if you're going to draw concentric rings, if you're going to then grid a line off it, anything like that, you want to stick with multiples of 4. So, say you wanted a hexagon. How do you get that? Well, the easy way to do that is to start with a 12 and then delete every second vertice. You'll notice that these lines aren't on the grid like they are over here. Let's bring this over so we can compare. So these both started from the same shape, same size polygon. So that's 5112 across, 5112 across there, but now this is 443. But it is 5112 point to point. Another interesting fact, if you do a 12-sided polygon and delete every second vertice, the radius, essentially, will be the same as the length of one side. So it'll actually make a perfect triangle, which is great for iterating shapes. You know that you can line them up and you can have like nice corridors that are 256 wide coming off the side like that. It's a really nice shape to use. The hexagon has some nice kind of rules of symmetry and regularity around it. So that's how you get non-multiples of 4, so even-sided shapes. Same with the 10, which we'll go through when we get to pentagrams. And same with a 5. So for a 5-sided shape, we might as well do it now. You want to start with 20 sides. And then delete every 3. Now we've got a regular pentagon, 300.95 line length on each side. So we started with a multiple of 4, which was 20. So if it's a non-multiple 4 of shape size ellipse shape that you want to take how many sides you want. So say it was 7, then multiply it by 4, and that's usually the shape that you have to start with. I think actually always. So that would be a 28-sided ellipse, and you delete every second through 4th vertice. Alright, so that's the basics of the polygons. Let's have a quick look at the difference between making concentric rings and using stairbuilder to make those rings. So we'll go back here, we'll start with a 24-sided ellipse, which is one that I quite like. 24 has nice snap to grid rotational symmetry. Whoops. So one snap is one side. It's a 15-degree change, which is what the rotate snap when it's on snap will do each time. So 24, really useful shape. Because you can manually input your rotational numbers here on the edit tab, but the 24 is just a nice, easy one to use. So here's our 24-sided shape. Say you wanted to do some concentric pillar rings, so you got like a layered pillar. The easiest way for me usually is just to draw additional rings around it using the grid to create them. The other way you can do it is via the stairbuilder. Now there's a point of difference with the stairbuilder. So with an ellipse, the top, bottom, left and right vertices will always end up on grid, provided you start on grid. That's just the way it works. So this distance here, from point to point, 64, the difference in size was 64 on each side. These point to points will be 64 on every one of them. But the distance from line to line, so it's just split this. We'll go through this in a different tutorial. But check line to line distance, 63.45. So not much different. Not usually important. You can still align flats to match those quite nicely, but it's something to note that when you draw it with the Ellipse Tool, it's point-to-point difference is where the dimension is locking in. When you use stairbuilder, however, it's the opposite. So I've got stairbuilder hotkey to my mouse. Stairbuild will build out from either a line or a sector at the stipulated depth. You can do individual pieces like that. Single steps will join them all, which is generally what you want, and then distinct sectors will draw lines from each vertice out, which is useful for things like stairs and detail trims. So we'll start with the single steps for now. We'll go 64, and we'll do, actually we'll do 2 iterations, so we'll match the other one. So you can enter a number of sectors, as many as you want. Get rid of those. Right, so what stairbuilder does is it actually draws from the line. That is exactly 64. But point to point is now slightly further. 65, which is 64.55. Again, not massively important until you realise that these apex vertices on the cardinal directions are slowly drifting off grid. The more you do that, the further it will get away. Because it's drawing from here, this point is slightly further than whatever distance you've done for your stair build. So I try not to use stairbuilder for things that I want to stay on grid. And you may think, oh, well, we could just tweak that. But then if that can lead into other issues, which is a conversation I had recently with Insane Gazebo. He was doing a dome, so all these segments were going to be sloped, and having that slightly changed threw the slope angles off just enough for you to see errors under certain conditions. So that's the difference between the two when you're dealing with a full circle. Both are really useful, but it's good things to keep in mind. So next one we'll demonstrate is how to make a curved set of stairs. So we'll just draw a box to start with, so we've got a little bit of playable space. Right. So there's a couple of ways to do this, and I think the easiest way is usually to draw with your ellipse tool, and then cut out the chunk that you want to be your stairs, and then you can draw between the points. Raise it up, say we'll make them 16 high. And there you got your stairs. Just like that. Nice and easy. Each one exactly the same shape. Really, really simple. Your high point over here. Like that. Say you've got 2 points that are not... They aren't in a relative to each other where an ellipse is going to work. You can draw a line, and then you can use the curve tool. So what the curve tool does is what it sounds like. It turns a line into a curve. So you can set the angle, the number of vertices. So again, I'm scrolling the mouse wheel to change the vertice number. And you can create other shapes other than an ellipse quite easily. You can do some quite funky stuff with it, create clover patterns, and there's all sorts of cool things you can do. Very potent, very powerful, very handy for creating some interesting shapes. If you enter the angle at 90, this will be, let's just change the vertice number down to 7. No, 6, right, sorry. So it'll be 6 sides. So what that'll be is now the same as the ellipse, a 24-sided ellipse. So the angle, an angle of 90 recreates that curve, which is a useful one to know. They'll all be the same length, 66.83. 66.83, identical. So curved line will create lines of identical length provided you've got fixed circular curve on. You turn that off and you can start making weirder shapes, which I don't use that often, but it is useful. So have a play with it. It depends on what kind of shape you want. If you want like a more oval kind of curve, but note that these lines will vary in length, so you won't be able to make regular shapes using that. So I generally have it on fixed circular curve to keep that as an even space set of lines. So back to our stairs. So say you wanted to have a little bit of a curved staircase from here. What you can do is curve the line from where you want the stairs to begin and finish. And I would do this where you want the middle of the stairs to be, not the edges, and I'll show you why when we stair build. So what we'll then use is the stair builder to create a set of stairs. Say you want 7 stairs, so which will be 6 vertices, 7 segments. So you've got this line now. Select the lines, and then activate your stair builder. So we're on a 128 wide stair, so we'll go 64 one way, single steps. And distinct sectors will automatically segment it for us. Go one way, and go the other, backwards. You can join these up. Now you will get a little bit of this happening on the ends. That's fine. Straighten that up like that. And we got our next set of stairs. So the reason I did building one way and then the other, so let's just grab these vertices and redo what we just did. So the problem is if you go one way, so it's going to go 128 in one direction, you'll find it starting to stretch in weird ways. So these are getting closer, and this line here is staying the same. You can see it further, more and more with greater iterations. See this line here just getting longer relative to this part of the curve. Same in the other direction. These will start to stretch relative to that. These will start getting further and further apart. Not a major issue, but if you want the stairs to all be the same size in terms of the edges, it's better to draw the curve down the middle of where you want the stairs and stair build either side. So that's your basic curved stairs. Use them to make you can do spirals really easily with the ellipse tool. The other way that the curve tool can be useful over the ellipse tool is, say you've got an angled section, and you want to make an ellipse rotated like that. You can't actually draw it. Well, that has ended up at 320. You can't draw it. You see these numbers are slightly off. It's really hard to get it to line up, and your apex points will still be on the cardinal directions. They won't be lining up with the grid. So normally the easiest way to do that is to draw a box like that, and then use the curve tool at an angle of 90. Say 5, and now you've got a nice right, that's cool. So we'll go from there. There's your center point. So that's where it's centered on. I think quite right. It should. Interesting, that's ended up... You've got a 0.01 variance between some of the lines, which is obviously not enough to really matter, but curious to me that this has ended up not quite perfect. Because as we demonstrated when we did it over here, that'll be a nature of the fact that I'm on the rotated grid, and the rotated grid just gets a little bit off absolute perfection. In terms of the grid coordinates, because they're rounded to 3 decimal places, I think, when they're off grid. So yeah, that's the curve tool is useful for making ellipses on a rotated grid like that. We'll do more rotated grid tutorial stuff later when I do my architectural precision segment. Right, so the thing that everyone has been waiting for: how to make the perfect pentagram. Make a new room. So remember, multiples of 4, so we want a 5-sided shape. Means we start at 20. So that's the first multiple of 5 and 4. So we're going to have even sides, but also have be able to draw from every 5th point. So you're going to draw a star in the middle. So the points of interest are every fifth vertice. 1, 2, 3, sorry, fourth. Every fourth. Just like that, you've already got a nice even star. Look at these sides, all 186, 5.99. Yeah, about as accurate as you're going to get. If you wanted to have it actually in a pentagon, delete these. Have that shape. But we want a classic. So the next trick is to stair build it. So what you then do is select all the sectors. So sector mode, stair build, and then you want to decide how thick you want your arms of your pentagram. One of this size, you can do quite a chunky one and make them like sector depth 16, which would be a 32 wide overall. So let's go with that. And then you want to draw one additional ring outside to finish off that 16, because the stair builder only builds the sectors you selected. You could select that outer sector as well to create the same effect. Next step for me is usually to merge the inner portions. Just makes selecting everything else easier, because you can join those, box select the whole thing, and then unselect what you've just done, and then merge sectors like that. Bang. Pentagram. Let's give it a texture. Yes, I have O-text loaded. This O-text is awesome. Oops. Boom. Very simple. Simple pentagram that is precise though. Let's put a key red light. There we go. We have a pentagram. So once you've got that mastered, which is pretty straightforward, you can start having some fun. So one of the next, a simple way to make them look a little bit better is do another stair build inside. Have a play with the different distances that you think look cool, and then you can add a color. So maybe like an O fade. What do they call them? Texture. Oh, I'll use the flat. A little bit of red. You can then make them pop up. Recess that. Another thing to do is to make them easier to select. Let's just join those. Texture those, and all of a sudden you're starting to get brighten that up. Yeah, it's something that's looking a little bit more interesting. So yeah, that's how you make a pentagram. The other we'll do one of my other favorites. Just the over under style. Oops. Go for 16. So the over-under style involves, every direction you close off like this. I've actually got this from Simpletonium. Now doing the edge point, there's a few ways to do it. This way's a little bit clunky. I'm just trying to think what the best way for. Yeah, I use the grid rotate, so select that line, rotate the grid, draw that point out. Same on this side, grid rotate to there, draw that point out. And I just cut off there so I can merge, and then copy, paste. And you want to rotate 72 degrees, because that's how far each side of the pentagram is. 144, the next side. minus 144. The other way. There's a each side of a pentagon is 72 degrees rotation. Just a useful number to know. Then merge these. Boink, 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 boink. There you got this nice under-over loop going on, and then this ring kind of recesses behind it visually. And what you can do here, select all those again, stair build 8, and you get this really cool inlay effect inside those patterns. Those up. Want to join these up. And then we will merge these. You need to go around and clean up the vertices from the stair builder. So stair build will build off a vertex even if it's not a line direction change. So you want to go around and clean all this shit up. Like so. It's just good housekeeping, and it means if you do more stair building, you'll have, it'll stop propagating them through. Now you can do the same thing. We can colour it. So let's go for the black and the red again. Yeah, we'll brighten you up. Yeah, so much more interesting pattern you've got already by doing that over/under pattern. And there's a lot of other things you can do, which I may do like a sexy sector art tutorial, some real crazy shit. So yeah, the perfect pentagram. We'll do one more demonstration. Draw your table space, draw your circle, connect your dots. Stair build the fuck up. Okay, this time. Merge the inner sectors. Select all, deselect the inner sectors. Done. Like that. Less than a minute. That's how you make a perfect pentagram. I think that's all we want to go through today. So next I might do lighting. Lighting and pillars, because those two go together quite nicely. So what we'll probably do is start building around our pentagram, and we'll do a bit of a lighting demo. So thanks everyone. Hopefully that was useful information. If anyone has any requests about further tutorials or things they want me to expand on, let me know. I'll be putting my Discord in the video description, as well as my Twitch, and I'm happy to do live demos on stream as well of various techniques. So yeah, thank you everyone. Have fun, and we'll see you next time.